there, and welcome to Wake Up to the Bible. I'm Daniel Kaplan. I'm here with my father, Dr. Kaplan, and together we're going through the books of the Bible a little bit every day. Today, I'm going to be reading Genesis 43:16 through 29 from the Robert Alter translation, and then we will discuss what we read afterwards. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them, and he said to the one who was over his house, "Bring the men into the house, and slaughter an animal, and prepare it, for with me the man shall eat at noon." And the man did as Joseph had said, and the man brought the men to Joseph's house. And the men were afraid at being brought to Joseph's house. And they said, "Because of the silver put back in our bags the first time we've been brought, in order to fall upon us, to attack us, and to take us as slaves and our donkeys." And they approached the man who was over Joseph's house, and they spoke to him by the entrance of the house. And they said, "Please, my lord, we indeed came down the first time to buy food. And it happened when we came to the encampment that we opened our bags, and look, each man's silver was in the mouth of his bag, our silver in full weight, and we have brought it back in our hand. And we have brought down more silver to buy food. We do not know who put our silver in our bags." And he said, "All is well with you. Do not fear. Your God and the God of your father has placed treasure for you in your bags. Your silver has come to me." And he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and he gave them water and bathed their feet, and he gave provender to their donkeys. And they prepared the tribute against Joseph's arrival at noon, for they had heard that they would eat bread. And Joseph came into the house, and they brought him the tribute that was in their hand into the house, and they bowed down to him to the ground. And he asked how they were, and he said, "Is all well with your aged father of whom you spoke? Is he still alive?" And they said, "All is well with your servant, our father. He is still alive." And they did obeisance and bowed down. And he raised his eyes and saw Benjamin his brother, his mother's son, and he said, "Is this the youngest brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Is that the end? Yep, I guess that's where we end. All right. Kind of an interesting place to pause. It is a very poignant moment, though. So it is funny because I just feel like Joseph is constantly like putting them on edge, because they come back and then he gives them this banquet and they're all on edge because they're like, "This is a trap," it's a trap, they're concerned.
He keeps asking about his dad, even at the end.
Yeah. Well, because he could have died in that meantime. There was a passage of time. Right?
But even when he reveals himself to them, he asks again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he doesn't totally trust them even at this point.
Oh, that's a good point.
But or maybe he just has to keep reassuring himself. But it's interesting.
How many times does he ask, I wonder?
3, I think.
That is interesting.
3 times the charm. I think it's 3. I may be wrong. But here he says.
I don't know. Maybe this is a really big overread, but again, if you get to Christology, right, isn't the whole point is that the father is still alive, right, throughout the process? I don't know. Maybe that's just an overreach.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a very famous Israeli.
Tell me if it's an overreach. I'm curious. It reminds me of an interesting what?
No, it just reminds me of the song that. I won't go through the whole background of the history.
You're not going to sing the whole song?
Well, I could, but the song, some of you may know, it's Am Yisrael Chai, people of Israel lives. Od Avinu Chai, our father yet lives.
Yeah. A lot of people know the Hugh de Glantz version.
Yeah, that's actually Shlomo Carlebach.
Oh, Shlomo Carlebach, sorry.
I was there when he introduced it into the United States back a long time ago.
Was it 60s or something?
In the 60s, yeah, a long time ago. But anyway, some of the Messianic groups sing Od Mashiach Chai, Christ is yet alive. Anyway, but that's an interesting point. But
especially when you have the 3, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, but I'll check on that. I think that's the case.
Yeah.
On the 23rd verse, the man says this, I guess, not Joseph. Joseph's servant says this. Your God, the God of your father. So he's evidently have been quite influenced by Joseph. The way he makes this comment.
The man who was over Joseph's house, who's not named.
Yeah, but it's interesting. He seems to have absorbed something out from Joseph.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's also following directions, too.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure Joseph prepared him because
Yeah,
later
prepared,
you see
told them what to
Joseph
say.
tells him what to say later.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
And now
now
the dream has been fulfilled. By the way,
yes, they're all here.
that
But
not that second dream, the first one. The second dream, his father and mother have to be there,
yeah,
or Leah at least,
hmm
or maybe Bilhah.
yeah,
Um,
depending on how you look at
depending how
it.
you look at it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have all this beautiful parallelism, right? Because you have them eating bread, probably wine's involved because we have a goblet later, right? And then
Yeah.
we have them washing their feet,
Good
and
point.
then you also have the sacrifice of something in the middle of the day. Just a lot going on there, you know. They're gonna slaughter it and they're gonna eat it at noon. So
Oh,
I don't know. I just think that's a lot going. That's a lot of Passover symbolism in one little spot.
right, right.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, you have that kind of thing all through Genesis.
Yep, yep. So I think that's cool. But yeah, I think there's not too much time where you see bathing of feet. You saw it with Abraham. You see it here. I'm not sure if it comes up again, but
It comes up in Samuel,
oh, okay, yeah.
and then one other place, somewhere
It's okay. I'm not just trying to put you on the spot or
yeah, one
something.
of the
It doesn't come up all that often.
no.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, so now he sees Benjamin, who he hasn't seen in forever. And it is interesting. The text constantly is reminding you of the fact that Benjamin is his full brother and not a half brother, which is interesting. I understand you have mixed families and things like that, and I don't think the Bible's trying to get on its high horse about that exactly, but there is something to be said about that sort of relationship too as
Say
well.
that again.
Because the Bible's constantly pointing out every time it mentions Benjamin in terms of Joseph, it's like it's
Right.
his brother, it's not his
Yeah.
half brother. And I
Well,
know,
it is his brother,
it is
Rachel.
his brother. I understand that, but there's a lot of mixed families in the world,
Yeah, yeah.
adoption, stuff like that. I don't think the Bible is trying to get on its high horse about it exactly. It's just there is something to be said, especially for Joseph,
Of course.
that because of especially because of his relationship with his mother and things like that. There's something to be
What
said for
Daniel said about the parallels, it just struck me here in verse 31. Then he washed his face and came out, and he restrained himself, said, "Serve the bread."
that. Mm-hmm.
So earlier,
Yeah.
what they
And
had
like I said, later
they
we're
had
going to
washed their
have
feet.
goblets because that's what in Benjamin's sex. So we know there was wine being drunk. We just don't get that detail here.
Okay, now where was the foot washing? That was a lot earlier, I
That
guess.
was 24.
All
He
right.
gave them water and they bathed their feet and he fed their donkey.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then later on he
And he
says,
have a donkey too.
"Serve the bread."
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's just really there's a lot going on there. It's really cool. Now, this is a place where I can really um, relate to Joseph in terms of the type of person he is. Although you don't, it actually was in the last chapter, but it's going to come up in just a minute. And that is when Joseph cries. Like I'm the type of person that usually it's not in the face of evil or something really horrifically bad that I tend to cry. It tends to be it's acts of beautiful goodness that tend to make me cry. And you'll notice earlier when Joseph is crying, it's when Reuben is showing his remorse of the situation and things like that. Like if you want to
Mm.
present to me a story and make me cry, it's not usually when like a character dies. It's when somebody does a noble sacrifice or something like that. So in that way, I can relate very much to Joseph because it goes out of its way to show you the moments when he cries, and it doesn't show you that he cries when he becomes a slave or when he's falsely accused. It's he cries at those sort of moments, which I'm not saying he didn't cry in those other situations. I think it just shows you a little bit about his personality. He's the type of person that responds to that. So, which I'm not saying to respond to the other is bad. We have the example of Jesus responding to the death of Lazarus by crying. So I'm not that's just a personality thing. I'm not saying one is more righteous than the other.
What are you talking about? Where Peter?
Or Jesus wept because Lazarus was dead. I don't
No,
think of that as crying in the light
no.
of
He wept
goodness.
because of the attitude of people there.
Right.
Yeah,
It's evil almost, right? It's like he's responding to evil.
yeah there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. So you
He
can't.
wept over Jerusalem too.
Right. So I'm not saying that is bad. I'm just saying that it is a little bit of a difference here in their personalities in terms of where it points out their crying. Joseph does not seem to cry in the face of sin. He cries in the face of beauty.
Well, he doesn't cry when he's in rough shape. In other words,
Yeah,
he's got a certain
but he
resilience.
well, it's not just resilience because Jesus doesn't cry over Jerusalem because he's not resilient. He cries because of the horrificness of
But
evil.
that's not over himself. It's over somebody else.
Fair
It,
enough, but Joseph could be crying over just the horrificness of the system, his brothers being so mean to him, and something like that, and that's not
it's still
necessarily
more
himself.
self-directed, it seems to me.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's true. I don't know. I still think it shows a difference of personality. I don't know.
Mhm.
I could be wrong. I think it's interesting that it points out and it's a difference between the two characters. But like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with righteousness. I just think it's just a difference in personality. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. So we will get back to the story and the dramatic conclusion. I mean, really, this is one of the most beautiful stories ever written, just from a literature's perspective. It's such a beautiful narrative, and so we can go ahead and tie up this narrative, and we will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, like, subscribe, hit the bell, because it's a good year to read the law. At least that's what I think.